Welcome once again to another exciting episode of Behind the Business. We're on episode 10. Can you believe it already? And if you haven't seen us before, where the hell have you been hiding out? You know, we're on iTunes, we're all over the place, we're on YouTube. So you've got to have seen us. And if not, then you've got 10 episodes after you watch this one, obviously, in total to be able to absorb the content that we've been putting out there for people in business. And it's not just about lead generation and closing deals. It's also about the mindset and how you present yourself, position yourself, understand and handle things. And although I do all the business processes and the lead gen and all that side of things, John, who is going to jump on here in a second, he'll explain exactly what he does as well. And this is why we've done the Behind the Business. So, John, do you want to let people know all the aspects that you've been putting on over these last 10 episodes that we've done?
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. Well, as Steve rightly said, I'm John, and I sort of look at the more mental side of things. So I am, in my day job, I am a success coach. So what we've been talking about is really the more psychological side of business. So how you cope with those things that sort of crop up unexpectedly, how clients respond to you, and how you respond to clients, which is something that people don't always think about in as much detail as they probably should. So yeah, 10 episodes, Steve. I can't quite believe it myself. But what I can't believe is quite how much information we've got into 5 hours of content. I don't think people quite appreciate the amount of preparation that we put into these things. And I said that with a straight face. And
you did well.
I did. But really the amount of benefit that they can get from sort of revisiting those episodes. And you're absolutely right. If people haven't discovered us yet, they're not listening to me say this, but they should be, because it's going to be another corker. And why don't you tell people, Steve, what we're going to be talking about today?
Absolutely. Well, obviously, just to very quickly recap last week's episode, which if you've watched it before, brilliant. If you've not, it was all about consolidation creates wealth. It was following on from what John had done on 2 episodes previously, which was about objection handling. Then I moved on to the consolidation side of things, which worked very much hand in glove. And that's what we've done with all these episodes. We've tried to keep it flowing in the direction so it fits your needs as you get to them. So this week is, again, no different. What we're going to be looking at now is basically around the paradigm shift mentality. Now, what do we mean by paradigm shift? Well, it's all about getting people to think of things in a different way to what a lot of people are saying is the right way to do things. So they could be telling you, this is what you need to do in your business. This is how you're going to get the results in the business. This is how you grow the business. This is how you scale your business. This is how you get over these problems in your business. So it can be too much overload, you know, the amount of content people are putting in. And that's why we break these down into the episodes we do, to make it a more manageable, and you can absorb it in an easier manner, but you can take action quickly. And that's what we're always about. It's take on board what we're saying, listen to the episode or watch the episode if you're on YouTube rather than the iTunes. Listen to it, watch it more than once, because we do cram so much into about 30 minutes there or thereabouts. We are really terrible at time keeping, and I think John's just hit the stopwatch even though I said that.
I thought I got away with that
then. No, eagle eye saw that. So we do try to keep it to 30 minutes. So that's why we try to avoid this procrastination, where there's too much information and people don't do anything with it, or there's too much information, it's information overload, and you just go, I'm confused, I don't know what to do. So that's why we take things steady. And that takes me on to the next part. And I'm going to come back to the paradigm shift thing, but I wanted to touch on this because it's something John and I discussed just before we hit the record button and went live today. And that is, if it's too much information to take on board and you want to harvest it out, then there are a lot of people that do these DFYs, the done for you opportunities, where they take care of everything for you, which leaves you free just to deliver the service or the product or the expertise that you have, which is all well and good, and that's fine. But as I was saying to John before we went live today, is what happens if you update something in your business? What about if you amend something in your business, or even go to that extreme and diversify your business? That done for you solution probably won't be as good fit anymore. So then what you've got to do is you're then going to go back to the person that did the done for you solution in the first place. They will want a load more of this off you to basically replicate what they did in the first place, because it's non-transferable in a lot of cases. So again, I know John will probably chip in at this point here because we talked about it before we went live, but it's all about being an advocate for your business and understanding what needs to be done and what should be done. And that's key there in order to make sure your business works. Now, John, you did mention something before we went live here about getting to understand and being an advocate for knowing how to do things. So do you want to jump in and just share with people that aspect?
Yeah, I think what Steve's talking about, paying other people to do part of your job for you or run part of that process for you, or even the whole process. It's great if you've got the money to do that and everything else, or if you're time poor. But I'm a really huge advocate of knowing the process, because if you don't know the process when it goes wrong, you don't know how to correct it. Okay, so things like, know how your social media works. Even if you're not the person who ends up doing it in the end, know how to do it. Know why it works, know why it goes wrong. At least know the basics, know the basics of how does a website work? What's a domain name? Even as simple as that kind of stuff, because there are people out there who don't know, and they'll pay somebody to put a website together. And then when they need to change it, as Steve said, suddenly it's, well, I'll change it for you, but it's, more cash. Well, if you know how to do it yourself, you can eliminate that. Now, there's an element there of, what the time that's involved and everything else, and that's fair enough. But at least have a basic knowledge of the process. We were joking in week sort of 1 and 2, and I was saying, look, who wants to be an accountant? I don't want to be an accountant. I've no interest in numbers. I've no interest in any of that stuff. But I can read a balance sheet. I can read a cash flow forecast. And I learned how to do that because it was important, because you need to know what you're looking at. You need to be able to put that stuff together. In a past life, I was a data-driven marketing expert, basically. Well, that takes learning. These are not skills you're born with. Business is not a skill you're born with. It's not a natural process. It's all artificial. You have to learn it. And you have to learn not just the interesting bits, but you have to know enough to know that that person over there that's just trying to charge me all this money, well, I can get it cheaper over there and it's comparable and the service is the same. But how do you know the service is the same if you don't know what the service is? If you don't know what the process is that these people are trying to sell you, how do you know if they're doing it right? How do you know they're selling you the right thing? How do you know it's going to fit your business model? How do you know it's going to fit the way that you like to work? Remember the episode where we talked about energy and the dip and that kind of thing? Well, what happens if you've planned your project that you're in the middle of to hit a dip here, but the person selling you a service on their own terms, because you don't know what they're trying to sell you, wants it to go live at another point? If you don't understand the basics of what you're talking to these suppliers, and they are suppliers, they work for you if you're paying them. If you don't understand what they're talking to you about, then they dictate the way you run your business. And that has all kinds of implications for you moving forward, not just from a business point of view, but from a life point of view and from a psychological point of view. One of the reasons that people want to be self-employed is because they want to answer to themselves. That's a huge part of it for a lot of people. Well, if that means paying somebody else to run a load of processes for you that you don't understand, you haven't got what you want, what you signed up for. Yeah. So I'm a huge advocate of, I don't get me wrong, I don't do everything in my own business, but I know how to do it. I can design a leaflet, I can update a website if needs be, I can build a cash flow forecast or whatever, and all of those things are aside from what I do, which is help people achieve their goals through personal growth. That's what I do. None of this other stuff has anything to do with that, But if I didn't know how to do it, I wouldn't be able to do the other stuff. And that, I think, is a key point to this, which is, running the business shouldn't take over from what the business is. What you do day to day is not running a business. It is the function of running a business. And that's a completely different thing. Okay. Learning how to run a business just enables you to provide the service or the product that really drives your passion. If running a business is your passion, then you need to find a type of business that helps you that revolves around running a business, which is kind of, I would suggest, what Steve does, because his passion is business and running a business and helping other people run successful businesses. For me, not so much. For me, my passion is elsewhere, but I do I run the business to enable myself to do the other things. But I think I garbled that last bit there, Steve. But you kind of get what I'm driving at. There's a difference between the two areas, I think.
There is, and you touched on a number of points there which resonate with me, quite strongly. Obviously, with with what I do to help businesses that are struggling to scale or grow, and one thing or another, and the internal side of things. And you're right. What you're saying is, you might be poor on time, but how much money are you going to lose, and how much poorer are you going to be if you don't understand these processes, if you don't understand how the business mechanics, the things behind the scenes that your end clients will never see, but they could feel if they're not right, and if you've got problems with them. And understanding how everything works means that you can spot a potential problem before it really mushrooms into something that's going to have a direct effect on the continuation of smooth operation, and obviously being able to do what you need to do. So that's a really key thing. And when you're looking at, like I said before, with these done for you solutions, well, unless they know your circumstance and your business, or there's some amazing psychic, then this could be more harmful than helpful to you by having them solutions done. Costly as well, because whenever any changes are made, then it usually ends up where you open your wallet and end up paying more money. Like John said, if you understand and you get someone, see, I don't run people's businesses. I don't do things in their business for them. I show them what they're getting wrong or what's not quite fitting right with their business, and that's stopping progress, stopping positive outcomes from taking place, because they just need to tweak this. They need to add this little process or this part of a process they have, but they're missing some key parts. It's like, a recipe when you're baking a cake. People use this analogy all the time. If you don't have quite all the ingredients in, your cake ain't going to taste how it should do. It might not rise, So that's what I do. I go into people's businesses and go, right, show me what you're doing right from start to finish. And what are you trying to achieve from this? I get to understand them, which goes on to the next thing I was going to say about the done for you solutions. I gather information from people. I do not commit to work with just anybody. I work with people that are a good fit for what my expertise can deliver, because I'm not going to engage with somebody and get an agreement signed up and take, the thousands of pounds which I charge for doing these different solutions if they're not a right fit for me. And by that, I'm not being, posh or snobby or anything like that about it. I'm just saying that I work with people that are going to take action. They're going to listen. They're going to take on board. There's going to be a bit of, back and forth and a bit of friction, but that's good in business, because you get to thrash it out and really understand why I'm saying, look, if you're saying that what I'm suggesting isn't a good fit, I'm here because it's not working for you at the moment. So I'm usually quite blunt with people. I'll say, stop your lips from flapping. Let someone else have some oxygen. Open these and shut that, and just let me show you what I'm looking and what I'm proposing to suggest you applying to your business. And then let's talk through why I'm suggesting it, and ask me the questions, and then get clarity before anything else is done. And every time I've taken this approach with business owners that I've worked with, they've always gone, flipping heck, Steve, why didn't we see that? And it's because you just don't know at the time. And it's not a failing. It's not a weakness. You only know what you know. And you can only get to know the new stuff when you've been shown it. And that's a bit like what John was saying. You learn things, but you don't necessarily need to do it day in, day out. You can delegate. You can get people into your business. If you're employing somebody or subcontracting out and then they move on, not a problem, because you still know how to do it until you get someone else in to fill that space. If you don't know how to do it in the first place, you're in the shit. Let's be honest about it. It's not going to be good. So that's why, gathering information rather than just having these people say, we'll come and do everything for you and you just deliver your service. I'm not saying it's not a good thing, but just think about the pros and cons, and how it's going to affect your business if you don't understand all the elements that they've been involved doing for you. It's almost not cloak and dagger, because I think that's a bit of a derogatory statement to make on people that offer them services, but it's certainly something that you need to think about and gain knowledge from them. It's like questioning, what have you been doing already to grow your business? And understanding that will know whether or not the solution you're looking to provide them is going to be the right one, or do you need to put in different experiences and knowledge that you have to fill that void that's specific to that business. Because although I do have online courses that run, they are very much tailored to help people get to a certain point. Then if they want to really take it to an all new level altogether, then I start working one-on-one on almost like mastermind kind of basis. And yes, that is a lot more expensive, but it's not about the cost. It's about what you get out of it. And I mentioned that on a previous episode about paying someone X amount and only getting this bit out. But if you pay them that amount, you get this much out. It's a bit of a no-brainer, and you've got to go with it. John, I think you wanted to just chip in there, mate, were you?
Oh, you just reminded me of a story. Actually,
Oh, not another story.
No,
during the war.
It was a story that was told by there's an Australian guy who runs. Have you heard of Action Coach? I'm sure you have.
Oh yes, I think most people have. Yes.
Yeah. If you've ever been to a networking event, you've met an action coach. That action coach.
I had a meeting actually with an action coach, and it was the funniest meeting I've ever had in my life.
They're hilarious. Action coach. Do you know people that work for Action Coach? They're great, but they're a certain kind of person. And I once went for lunch with about 10 of them, 10 action coaches, all at the same time, which was quite an experience. But Action Coach is run by this guy called Bradley Sugars, and he tells a story about he's talking about trying to encourage marketing methods, and he's talking about a baker's shop that was failing. And so he said to them, you know what you should do? You should put a sign outside that says free eclair for everyone. Just call in and pick it up, right? No, there's no strings attached. Just everyone who walks through the door gets a free eclair. You don't have to buy anything. And the guy that was running the shop said to him, "You're joking, aren't you? Have you got any idea how many people are going to come to my shop to claim a free eclair?" And he said, Yes, I have. Yes, that's the whole point." And what you just said just reminded me of it, because it's about looking at things in a completely different way. And so, because his point was, how many of those people are going to buy other things? How much would it cost you to produce those eclairs for a day? How much would it cost you to put that same advert in a paper, which would bring in many, many less people? So it's about looking at things slightly askance, slightly from left field, and saying, okay, and to a certain extent, this kind of feeds into partly what I was trying to talk about, or very clumsily talking about last week, which is where there's a lot of noise, where there's popular things going on, you can get lost and your business can get lost. So find a way to differentiate yourself, do something different. I mean, there's a flippant example last week with, embossing an envelope. But there's a serious point behind it, because who else was doing that? Nobody in my field.
Yeah.
But 1 million people are doing Facebook ads.
There is so many people, isn't there, that's doing the same kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, this is important, because what we're talking about with these done for you offers and courses and people doing that, what they're doing is they are standardizing solutions. And wherever you get a standardized solution, particularly one that's very successful, you get two things happen. First of all, you get one guy doing the same thing for everybody in the same industry. So everyone looks the same, nobody stands out, and nobody knows why. So it immediately saturates that playing field. And the other thing is, people see his solution get successful, so a few people learn it and go away and start doing it themselves. So you get that level gets saturated as well. And then suddenly that becomes, this is the only way to do it. And nobody's standing out. And everyone's being told, if you want to be successful, you have to do this and you have to do it this way. And everybody's doing it this way. Well, that's great. But what happens if that, it doesn't suit your business model? And B, what happens if the first guy that did it, he was very successful at marketing himself, but his results don't work? His results don't speak for themselves. What happens then? Then you've got an entire level of an industry all based on substandard knowledge, because you've got one guy who went, this seems to work for me, I'm going to teach people to do that. And everyone's doing the same thing. But nobody knows how it works because he's not stupid. He doesn't want people to learn it all. He's gone down the self-help book route of saying, oh, I've missed out one of those bits. You have to buy the next book. No, I'm not going to, I'll tell you 9 out of 10 of these secrets, but the 10th one that's going to bring you the £1,000,000, I'm not going to tell you about that one. So when you're looking for these solutions, if you decide to go down those solutions, or once you've learned the task that you are farming out to somebody else, you need to find out, are these the right people? Do I trust this person and do I want to work with them? And the best way to do that is to speak to these people. Don't just look at their YouTube videos. Don't just look at their website and see they've got 25 testimonials from people that seem to be parked in front of a rented jet for the day, you know, or have hired a boat for an hour while they take some photos. Pick up the phone and ring them. There's a great story of another story. There's a guy, Eben Pagan. If you look him up, he's a very successful internet marketer. But when he was first putting together his very first project, he decided he wanted to get in touch with Seth Godin. And Seth Godin was doing something with Google at the time. So he rang Google and said, I want some contact details for Seth Godin. And they said, hang on a minute. And the next thing, Seth Godin was on the phone. Now that tells you something.
Massively.
That tells you that A, he knows his stuff. He's prepared to answer questions on the fly. He's not too busy to give advice, but he is extremely busy. But moreover, it tells you about the kind of people that you're trying to contact, but you can't get on the phone. You know, if you've got somebody who's trying to sell you a service and you go to their website and the only way to contact them is through a web form, and you put in there, please ring this number, I need to ask you some questions, and they don't ring you back, don't give them your money. For God's sake. You know, you've got to be aware that this business that you're putting together, apart from the financial aspect, there's a whole psychological aspect. This is you looking after yourself and your family and everything else. Don't entrust that to somebody who won't even pick up the phone. Just don't. Why would you? You wouldn't do that with any other aspect of your life. You wouldn't. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't be that flippant about buying a toaster. And yet we trust complete strangers with tasks that we don't know how to do because we think it's easier to farm these things out. And then we wonder why we don't understand why things don't fit together. Because as a business owner and actually as an adult, it's your responsibility to make sure that these different aspects of your life or your business, they fit together and they fit together properly. It's a jigsaw puzzle. And if you've got a piece out of place, the picture doesn't work. Short rant for you there, Steve. But
yeah, thanks for that, John. But some good analogies there and good reference points for people. And I know we started this episode about paradigm shift and we went into the done for you solutions, but this is where it all comes full circle to kind of like wrap things up for today. And that is, John was just saying, you don't entrust people with your money and part of your business unless you get to know them, which is why I was saying the done for you solutions are great to a degree, but unless you're going to be able to learn and understand how those different building blocks go together on that part that they're doing for you, if anything goes wrong, you can't fix it. You're reliant on them. You're dependent on them. And that's dangerous, because what if they just decide to shut shop and they've had enough and they want to go kayaking for the rest of their life? You're left, kayaking, but you're left upstream without the paddle. You knew where that was going in. So this is why I want to full circle the paradigm shifting, because when people are pushing their wares, and there's so many, as John just alluded to there's so many people saying the same thing or very similar things. This is how you can generate leads. We can turn a click into a client in 48 hours and all this. There's so many different things going on out there, but predominantly they're all the same. They're all basically saying, we want your money in exchange for getting your business a bit further forward. But a lot of them are, when you go into them, and I've checked a lot of these out because I've obviously been in this space. I like to know what people are doing. And I have a really good chuckle at some of them as well, because some of them are horrific. And it just goes to show that, and I don't mean this, disrespectfully, but it'll probably come across like that. There's a lot of naive people in business out there that will just go, do you know what? That's going to take this pain away really quickly. Here's me $47, or here's me £197, or whatever it might be. But then what happens after that wears off? It's like, do you know what? I'm had a really bad day. I'm going to have a couple of shots of JD. And then it's like, I feel a bit better. But then when the Jack Daniels wears off, guess what? The problem that you were getting away from is still there. So you need to fix that. And that's why when I'm ever working with anybody, I don't say, look, here's my solution, here's my course, or here's my mastermind. This is how much it costs. Pay and let's crack on and get your business exactly where you need to be, because I'm the guy. That is not how I do things. And this is the paradigm shift I was on about. I go at it a completely opposite direction. And I've talked about me doing the 180 rule that I've discussed in previous episodes. And if you don't know what I'm on about, then this is probably the first one time you've ever listened to us. And you've got another 9 episodes to listen to get back up to speed. But the angle I take on it is, I don't want your money. What I'm going to do is I'm going to not prove to you, but I'm going to genuinely give you something that's going to help your business. So you can then decide if the level of expertise I share, and it's a business playbook I've got, and John knows about this and quite a few other people, it's 9 pages long. It's a really short but very informative read. It gives 2 very clear steps that you can use and action in your business that's going to show you what you're currently doing and what you need to consider changing. One about the internal processes that's slowing things down and can have a massive effect when you're generating leads in one thing or another. And the other side is the actual lead generations and sales process. The 2 fundamental parts together, when they're gelled and everything's working, that will give you a very successful business. It will give you a solid business. It'll give you a scalable business. It'll give you a 7 or 8 figure business if that's what you desire to have. As long as you don't take your foot off the gas, you don't question things, you just get on and do it. And that book is a gift from me to anybody that wants it, and it's easily downloadable. And we'll put links in the show notes to that, and also John's information as well that he spoke about last week. You might get one of them fancy embossed envelopes come on your door, Matt. You never know. But by doing that, people get to see whether or not that little bit of information fits their business. And when people do actually take action, use that information and absorb that content in that 9-page PDF, they get in touch. They then book a clarity call with me. Some people call it lots of different things. It's basically fill out this short form, and it's literally a very short bullet point form saying, let me know this information about you and your business, and then we're going to get on the call. And the reason I do it that way is, first of all, I want you to have some of my own content for free, so you can, almost try before you buy. You put it into action. When you see that you get some quick wins and some positive outcomes from using that, then you can make the decision, do you know what? This guy put 9 pages together and I've had this success in my business. How much more can he help me? I want to find out more, but it's on your terms. It's not me pushing myself upon you. It's you making the decision you want to know more. You can then book a clarity call, and there's a very clear page for answering a few questions that gets sent directly through to me. And then guess what? Like John was saying before, it schedules a call. You put your direct mobile number in there, and then I personally ring you at the time on that day that you have scheduled for me to be available. I make myself available for you at your mercy to fit your schedule, not to fit mine. And by doing that, I hope it shows that I am willing to stop whatever it is I wanted to do or I had planned to talk to you. And because we've got that form, I already know a lot about your business, so we don't waste time on silly things. Like, well, tell us what your business is. What have you done so far? I already know that from that form, which means I can give you a lot more value during that 45 minutes. So again, I am now over delivering on the call. You've already got some steps for free with the playbook. You're now getting 45 minutes of over 16 years of business building, scaling, growth, problem solving, understanding processes, implementing processes, and everything else to do with lead generation you can think of. You get everything in here on the phone or like this on a video call for 45 minutes. Again, completely free. There is no commitment. There's no hard sell. I hate hard sells. I hate it with a passion. And if you ever click through to one of my videos when you're booking a call, if that's what you wanted to do, you'll see I mention it in there as well. So there isn't any pressure selling. But what there is there's quality, clarity that's going to help your business move forward. So even if we don't decide to do business together, and it'd be a mutual, two-way thing, you will still get more clarity to help improve your business even more, which might mean you come back to me in a month, 2 months time and go, it wasn't the right time, but I've applied what you said in your book and the clarity call. And guess what? I'm back because it's all had a positive effect on my business. And now I have got the 5 grand, 10 grand, 50 grand, whatever it might be, depending on if it's the course, if it's a mastermind, and we tailor it to suit your business. And so it fits your business for the outcomes you want. But by doing it that way, I get to understand your business and you get to ask me questions about why am I the guy that can help you get from where you are now, ultimately to where you want it to be in the fastest time possible, where you understand what I'm doing. Because as I said earlier in this episode, I'm not going to do it for you. It's not a done for you solution, what I offer. I'm the guy that says, this is what you're doing. This is right. This isn't so right. Let's tweak it. Let's put it right. Let's put these things in place that aren't in place. Let's fix these bits. You do it and get your team to do it so that when I step back, and I'm always still there on the phone or on an email if you need me, but for the purpose of that initial consultation and getting things right and getting your business moving forward, I show you how to do it from the part of the book that says what you should be doing, brings it all together, but then you know how to fix it going forward. You can keep your eye on it. So like I mentioned, if you diversify, if you amend or update something, not a problem. You aren't, up the river without a paddle, because you know how to do it. And I've given you that, and you've got that for life. So when you look at investing in, someone that does like what I do, it's not, he wants 10 grand or he wants 5 grand or whatever it is. That's a lot of money. Well, put it this way. Someone paid me over £35,000 and in 3 years they made £10 million in sales. That's not a bad investment, really, is it? Fact. Simple as. But that's the paradigm shift, is people will push and say, this is what to do. This is how we can do it. This is how we can do it. My paradigm shift on that is have a look at these things that you can use in your business. Have a clarity call for free on me as well. And let's deep dive a bit further and give you even more value and get even more wins in your business. And all this is without paying for anything.
Mm.
But then at some point you'll go, this guy, I need in my business even more. I need to show me how to do more of this, because what he's done for us so far has helped in this way, that way. It could be more time freedom. You know, John was on about time poor. It could be how to streamline your processes so you have more time. So you can go and have some fun with the family, with your friends, whatever it might be, that you currently haven't got because you're working 300 hours a day, you know? And what ends up happening if you're in that scenario is you tend to go out of business pretty quick because you usually end up in a box. You know, your mind goes, you know, it's happened to people. I've seen it happen. People have a breakdown. They don't realize, and all of a sudden, wham, it just smacks them. And it's like, whoa, what happened there? You got to get up out of bed one morning, you're on a heap on the floor. And it happens. So hopefully, you know, it has rambled a little bit with what we've gone through today. But again, there's still content in there. There's an understanding is what we're trying to get across in today's episode of you can go one way or you can go another way. And business is about choices. And what we're saying is open your mind up to the different choices and think them through and understand what the benefits are and what the pros and cons are of both angles. Do you want a quick fix? You don't care that you don't know anything about it. It's a quick throw some money at it, get it fixed and get some money in, and then we'll address it properly later. So then there's no longevity in that outcome and that solution. Or do you go the other way and say, let's get people in to help, show us how to do what we need to do so we understand it forever. And then if ever want to scale up or get some more information, we can reach out to them when we want to part with some money, not when we're dictated to have to part with money because we've made a change and now we need them back to fix it. And that's, I think, the key takeaway from today's episode is that. What do you say, John?
Yeah, I agree. I think you've covered a few really good points there, and I'm not going to sort of go over them again. But just in the last couple of minutes, I did want to encourage people to go back and listen again to what Steve just said, because apart from the content of what he just said, he's also described to you in quite good detail a system for qualifying your leads and making sure, like we were saying the other day, if you can get your client base right, your prospects, the right prospects in front of you, you don't have to sell, it'll sell itself. And make sure you got the right people you can sell without being salesy, you know. And what Steve just described to you in what he does is he's described that process to you, or a version of that process. I urge you, as ever, you know, Steve's business is not your business, but go back, listen to it, think to yourself what he's just told you about how he works. How can you apply that to what you do? Because I guarantee it applies. Okay. And as your homework this week, and I'm sure Steve's going to add some homework to this, but I'm going to suggest that you follow the link which we will put under this video to Steve's playbook, and you download it and you read it. Because the whole point of these podcasts, the whole thing that sort of the catalyst for these podcasts was Steve sent me his playbook. I read it, looked at it, and said, you know what, Steve, we have these conversations all the time. Maybe we should start videoing them because I think they're going to be useful for other people. Steve asked me to get involved with that, and that's exactly why we're here now. That book is gold. It's free. It's no obligation. As Steve said, you read the book, you try it out. Potentially, you pick up the phone, or you gotta speak to Steve if you've got any questions or anything else. That's it. That's your homework. Anything else that you think people should be looking at this week, Steve?
Just think about the pros and cons of the done for you solutions over somebody that's going to take the time to actually have a conversation with you and discuss your business before you part with any money. So you have the confidence and you get a vibe from that person going, yeah, they've answered all my questions. They've taken a very clean interest and clear interest in my business. They understand my business. They understand what my mission statement is. They understand where I'm looking to go, how I'm looking to get there, what time frame I'm looking for, what my budgets are, everything. And that's what my Clarity Call is all about. If people are prepared to invest so much of their time for free to find out more about your business first, It's like a very quick analogy, and I know that we're running really way over 30 minutes today. But
Well, we are, but I think it's worthwhile, to be honest, Steve.
So basically, what I was going to just say was I put a post out on LinkedIn actually just a couple of days ago, and I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what I put because it was quite a long post. But at the bottom, it was something about serve, don't sell. And then it was also don't try to get your rewards until your clients have got theirs. And the analogy I used was it's like sitting down to dinner and stuffing your face, then looking up and realizing that your guests have still got the coats on. Do you get my point?
Absolutely. But I've got to say, all I'm thinking is I've got the food. That's not the point you were making.
It wasn't, no. It was the 180 of that, John. So, but that's what for your homework, from what John said, really appreciate, obviously, John, with the endorsement there on the book. Have a look at it for yourselves, see whether or not John's full of it or whether he's quite right what he says. I've known John for over 30 years. So I know he's an expert at what he does. He's looked at my book and he's given me some really clear pointers on it. I've made a few tweaks based on his recommendations and I've made it even better. So feel free. It's up to you, I'd say. And like John said, it's free to download. So as always, over these episodes, I said at the beginning, we try to keep to 30 minutes. I've completely blown that one out of the water, but hopefully there's plenty of content there for you to use. And we say this all the time. Listen to it, make notes that make sense to you, and then apply. Don't just watch our pretty faces, listen to our lovely voices just for the sheer hell of it because you've got nothing else to do because your Netflix series is finished. Utilize it, put it to work in your business, and then come back to us. Let us know what effect it's had, the positive effects, the changes it's made in your business. And then if you want to get involved with us, do so. But we just ask, give this podcast a like, give it a review. Let's hear back from you if you want us to talk about a specific topic and cover that for you. Otherwise, thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. We're very grateful for it and appreciative of it all. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Behind the Business.